Welcome back, part two. Talking about what we're up to, Day
We
State.
got to day state, we were talking about the Red Wolf.
The Red Wolf.
We nearly covered it on the last series, didn't we? But we just didn't know when the deadline was going to be. Turned out they launched it at SHOT Show, and it was at the British Shooting Show, which was still on at the weekend. And it looked really good. It was. It's a limited edition. It's the Series Rosso.
Hang on a minute, is it a limited edition or a special edition?
Well, the difference is that a limited edition is limited and a special edition is special. In other words, you can make as many special editions as you want, as many as you can get away with.
Right.
Whereas a limited edition is usually limited to a number, and the number being 200. So it's a limited edition.
So it is a limited. So we're only going to get 200 of those.
Well, you're not going to get 200, but there's going to be 200.
I don't want 200.
No. There's 200 going to be made. That's a large number for a limited edition, so they're obviously very confident that they're going to sell them, and the rumour is that they have. Of course, most of them go export.
Yeah, I was going to. Yeah, I don't. It didn't. Not being funny, but I don't think it's an English market rifle, is it? Really?
Well,
it's a little bit blingy for a lot of people.
Yeah, but we're more blingy than you think. The British market is the market that takes the special limited editions. The overseas markets are usually trying to be unkind, trying to work out what the airgun is. To worry about these exclusive batches of them, but. Maybe that's changing because certainly numbers of sales abroad are through the roof. The UK market's pretty flat, so undoubtedly they sell quite a lot of these abroad. But normally you'd expect them to go to the UK market, and it does make perfect sense to do a limited edition at the beginning of a series of rifles rather than halfway through at the end, because you start with a big buzz. You start with a big fanfare and a very attractive gun, and the people who want to get in on the game early usually got the money. So they are the ones who will buy that gun. And of course, as the gun moves on, as the Red Wolf series continues, there'll have only been the Series Rosso once. And when the guy takes it out of the gun cabinet and shows it to his friends, it'll become more and more exclusive as time goes on. That's the plan. Yeah.
Now, the story, the actual action that's obviously based on the Pulsar.
Yeah, it is. It's a. I'm talking about another company, but BSA. But no, talking about Dayset. But we're talking about. It's got an electronic firing system which is straight out the Pulsar. It's got a action which is probably more Wolverine than anything else, which is kind of Pulsar-esque in a way. And they put the two together and they bolted a trigger underneath. So there's nothing new there. It's all the technology that's been coming out the last couple of years, put into a conventional package. Of course, you have to put the battery somewhere because you've lost the butt for where you have it on the Pulsar.
Yeah.
So they put it into the pistol
They
grip.
put a lithium polymer?
Charge on lithium polymer into the pistol grip with a very tidy little grip cap which covers the charging socket and a removable battery in there.
And I don't mind. I don't mind the fact that it's based on the Pulsar, because the Pulsar turned out to. I don't know whether this is the case, but we found that the Pulsar was one of those guns that we didn't think we were going to sell an awful lot, and then we sold an awful lot, and then actually we were worried about the reliability because it was electronic, and it ended up being
the most reliable
Day State we've ever sold.
Absolutely right. Yeah, I was amazed by that gun when it came out. I was really almost tearful because it was such a good gun. It was so well designed and engineered. Mostly the engineering was good on it. The design engineering was good on it.
The only thing I wasn't over keen on was the batteries. The batteries.
Do you know, I would defend that because I think that after years of Mark IV batteries, where there's a constant series of phone calls, people wanting new batteries, and where can I get a new battery, and it's how much, 35, 40 quid for a battery, and you've got two socket batteries on the early A types and B types, and so to get away from that and just buy 6 AA batteries you can get at any petrol station, just got rid of all the battery reseller problems.
I must admit, I should have qualified that statement. I was disappointed with the batteries because I'm into radio control, and nickel cadmium and nickel metal hydride. It's sort of last year, isn't it? And everybody's onto lithium poly, which basically can give you the current that you need. It's a dense battery, so you actually can store more power in a smaller space. But saying that, it's now. We've got it now,
right.
So that's
and
great.
Of course, Pulsar is now 3 years old. It's at that time, I think everybody was fed up with being a battery reseller, not a gun company, and they put in these batteries. There's nothing stopping you ordering it with a a lithium battery in there. It will take a PP3 lithium and smoke alarm battery,
right,
knock the weight down, give you half as many shots for a battery that costs twice as much. But it still can go in, goes straight in, it plugs in. You could, if you wanted to, you could put 2 or 3 of those, and you probably never need to change the battery for the life of the gun. You know, if you had a few of those in there, and there's room in that stock to do it.
Right, good.
There isn't on the Red Wolves because it's got to go in the grip. The grip design has got to be compromised slightly to get all that gubbins into the grip. But it's a small, thin battery which they've sourced for it, and it should last a decent amount of shots. I don't know what that is. I don't think anybody does, but it's got to be 5,000 shots.
Well, we'll see
find out
fairly soon, won't we?
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I know there's a couple of is it pre-production prototypes that are hanging around that people are testing out.
Yeah, wait
at the
to
moment,
see.
so.
I think March is delivery, something like that.
Yeah,
I've been told.
that'll be good.
Yeah.
I did see pictures of the. We're still talking about the British Shooting Show, by the way.
Such was there.
I saw a couple of pictures of the new Webleys. They've got like a little pistol. A tactical pistol with a shoulder stock that looks quite interesting.
Yeah, I didn't get across to that stand. I couldn't get to it actually at the time.
Right.
But yeah, they're doing quite. They've got something quite new going on. There was the FX which we covered, which is the Wildcat 2.
Yep.
Which is out.
And the Crown was evident
Crown
there
was
as
there.
well.
Yeah, because the Crown really hasn't made it to the UK shores yet.
Not yet.
So
no.
maybe that will start to appear quite soon.
I'm hoping so. Yeah, I'm hoping to see the Crown, and we'll stop the Crown because it sounds like a really nice, accurate rifle. Also, as well, something else. It's like we didn't quite make it today, but the new Faz rifle. The pre-charged has evidently turned up in the country.
Right.
So maybe next week we'll do a review of the new Faz rifle, which looks really interesting, to be honest with you.
Air Arms had something. They had a regulated extreme sporter, is it?
The only
extreme sporter 500
do you know what?
With black stock. It was one on the stand.
I hope Air Arms. This is a bit confusing for me, to be honest with you, because I saw the photographs. Like I say, I didn't go to the British Shooting Show, and I should have done, to be honest with you, and I will make sure I go to the next one. But anyway, I saw the photographs and I thought, yeah, it's an evolution. It's regulated. They've done a choice of stocks, haven't they? They've done a walnut one, and I think it might have a plastic. Cheap piece, which I hated it on the BSA. To be on BSA, brought one out like that, and I can't understand why you would want
it was
a walnut stock.
Directly opposite me all over the weekend, and it looked very nice. And it looked like a new gun. You know, it didn't look like it was another revamp. It looked new. It's got a new regulator in it. It's got, which is the regulator, this buzzword regulator. So that helps. Air Arms is another sort of company that puts regulators in because we've been asked to, rather than because they believe in it. Mm-hmm. So you can buy it with and without, I imagine. But it's they're just as good without as they are with.
Well, this is the problem. See, I like the idea of the ultimate sporter and this that, and the other, because it's matured technology. Yeah. Again, talking about reliability. When stuff comes out that's unreliable.
Looking for a market that doesn't exist. I mean, you've got that gun would be the perfect gun for HFT.
Yeah,
absolutely. The bee's knees for HFT: adjustability, regulated action, large shot count, lightweight. Absolutely my choice of a good HFT rifle. Except they're all using match rifles. So you've got them using FT rifles with a low power scope, with a super adjustability of stock, and then they multi-position themselves hanging off trees and stuff, which kind of fits the object. But they're all using really target rifles in the secondary sport, in the HFT sport.
I think it's more. I think, to be honest with you, the FTP is obviously their top of the range, and you've got the Ultimate Sporter, which is more of a club gun in my opinion, and I think it makes a really good club gun.
Yeah.
If you go to a target shooting club, you're not dead serious about it. You want something reliable. You want plenty of shots. I think Air Arms are.
Well, that's when the sales are.
It's not
because for every one person who goes to HFT, there's 10 who go down.
I think Air Arms are quite wise what they've done. To be honest with you, they've taken an existing design, they put a regulator in it. They've not changed it too much. We're hopefully going to keep good reliability. The price isn't going to be ridiculous. I think Air Arms are onto a winner there. Yeah. And you know what? I've seen comments as well on forums and Facebook sort of saying it's a bit boring. But you know what? Yeah, it's not the most exciting thing. But I tell you what, it's one that you might actually spend your money on.
Well, if I was buying at that show, that's definitely one on my list. That was a rifle I kept looking at.
I'm looking forward to seeing it. The only problem I've got, and we'll come back to this, is that I rang up Air Arms a few days ago and asked them when they were coming out, and do hopefully Airons will clear this up and on a future show.
What, in the comments below?
On the comments below, that'd be fantastic. But they told me that the firearms rated ones were coming first, and they got no delivery date on the 12-foot-pound ones.
Right. Well, that tells you how much exports are going on at Airons, doesn't it?
I was quite shocked at that, to be honest with you, because people are going to want them in the UK as well, and to not produce a 12-foot, or I think they will produce a 12-foot-pound one. It's just that I think what they'll do is they'll just see how many FSC ones they'll sell.
Because most British companies obviously want to do it at 12-foot-pounds first, because easy. And if you throw them out the door and they all come back, it's only 100 yards as opposed to 1,000 miles.
See, I didn't get to speak to Claire, so maybe that needs clearing up. But that'll be interesting, you know. And if anybody has got the SP on like, if that rifle is coming, 100% in 12-foot-pound, let us know in the comments below. It'd be interesting.
They had the Air Arms experience there, and that looked like a vast empire of tents doing all sorts of trials for £5. You could have a go and things like that. It looked really quite busy. Huge amount of staff involved.
So I don't know whether are we summing up now. I mean, at the end of the day, I
thought it was good. I thought it was a really key show. But because the industry's been at the NEC before, I think twice it did shows in 93, 94, something like that. It did a Pavilion one year, which was the most busy show I've ever been in my life. It's like sardines moving around. And then on the second year, it kind of faded a bit in the full-size halls. That was under when Birmingham City Council owned the NEC, and the union, you can't bring that in here. And it was terribly difficult to get. I mean, I was running gun gear at the time, and we had to restock from car park 4 because there wasn't enough room for cars in the exhibitors display area, so we were just told to go away, even though we were exhibitors. So it was very difficult to be at the NEC. The costs were high. And the numbers started to dwindle, and then we disappeared off to Stoneleigh, and we disappeared off to Coventry, didn't we? Lincoln. We did that one. The original British shooting show was in a field on the outskirts of Lincoln in tents.
Yes.
It snowed, and we had all that going on. And now finally we're back to really where a big industry like this, or a biggish industry like that should, if you can have sewing shows at the NEC, you can have the British
model railway exhibition.
Absolutely right, and yet we were in the cowsheds. So now it's back where the home of really.
I bet anyone in model railway enthusiasts are going to be going.
I bet people from Stoneleigh are going, thumbs down.
Oh well, shit happens. Okay, so basically, I should have gone, to be honest with you, and I'll tell you what, I'll make sure I go to the next one because it looks like it's going to, it's going to go from strength to strength. Or good on them. Anyway, so why? So you were there, obviously, on a stand.
Yes. Well, I do different things these days. And, and one of the things that I'm involved in is the Sterling Armament Company.
I've heard of that. As it happens, I have a soft taster.
We brushed on it last time, didn't we? I couldn't say much then. But we launched the company there on the Friday at 9 o'clock. A brand new company, really, with an old name, and we had a few guns to show.
Right.
I happen to have brought a couple with me.
Okay, well, if you want to get your wares out, but I'd like to know a little bit of the history about how it's, how
right.
And I tell you what, have you managed to keep it so quiet as well? That's been pretty impressive, to be honest with you.
Not been that quiet, to be fair. Perhaps I should have kept it quiet.
I've not had my ear to the ground then.
No, it's really started off with, Boxall and Edmondson. I'm interested in Boxall and Edmondson. I knew James Edmondson very well. And many years ago he said, I'd like to buy guns of Day State, and we looked at that and it wasn't going to happen, and he said, I'll make my own then. And I said, why don't you do a high-end spring gun, thinking that keeps you well away from Day State and actually fits in with what Boxall and Edmondson is, which is a bespoke high-end gun company. So I thought a bespoke high-end gun company probably deserved a bespoke high-end spring gun, because that's the way they would work. I had this in the early days of Day State, when they were doing the Harrier, in 2000. They were making Harriers for minus £35 each. So that was the profit margin, was minus £35. And the reason was, they had such pride in their work that they would continue to make that gun until it was right. Consequently, they lost money on every gun, but it wasn't going to go out if it wasn't right.
Yeah.
So, and Boxall and Edmondson's a bit like that. They absolutely got to be right. So the only thing you can do with a company that does that is make a high-end product that they can have pride in and do it. So that was a kind of a throwaway comment from me in 2014, I think. And James went off. James is the most wonderful gentleman. He goes around seeing every designer. He's probably met every airgun designer in Britain twice. So he goes around speaking to people, commissioning them on something. Sometimes he gets something back, sometimes he doesn't. And he went off and he commissioned an air rifle.
Right.
And then in November, so I think he started it in 2014, in November he rang me up and said it's done.
Right.
So, oh, okay. So had a look at it, it looked quite amazing. And so it was then developed quickly to get ready for the British Shooting Show. So when we booked the stand for the British Shooting Show, and I think it was end of November, there was going to be one gun on the stand. But there was a prototype of a second gun which had been basically done by another company for Boxall Edmondson while everybody was waiting for this first gun to be finished, because nobody thought it was going to take 2 years to be done. And they did a development rifle, so we had 2 rifles. And then planning meeting along in January, where we sat around and Pete Boxall, who's the engineer at Boxall Edmondson, got involved, and he said, Pete's an amazing production engineer. He used to work at Jaguar, used to be the, I think, managing director or production director at Holland & Holland, and then they started Boxall Edmondson. So his pedigree is really in CNC programming, development, and basically production management. So he's just the person you want to productionize. Most air guns are prototyped, they're made, and they then continue to make the prototype forever. Really that's what happens because of the way it has to flow. In this case, it started with a CAD design, but the ideas came from people like Steve Harper and from Pete Boxall to put in to 2 production engineers to design a gun which was already been in Harper's head for 30 years.
Right.
So they produced this gun. So on the 12th of January, there was a planning meeting, and then there was another planning meeting 3 weeks later, and I had one at the show. And I'm like...
And you've got that rifle with you?
And I brought that rifle. Now, it's a rough prototype, and people do tend to judge prototypes like they're a finished gun. And really the most responsible thing to do was to left it in the car, because, prototypes.
Yeah,
but you're there and you think, I think these people want to see this.
Of course they do. Yeah, we want to see it.
Yeah.
We want to see it.
Let's get it down and have a look.
Come on then, right. I tell you what, we'll
pause.
We'll pause, and we'll come back in a couple of minutes once we've got all the guns out and everything. Then you can have a look. I haven't seen them yet. Actually, I'm really excited about seeing them. I've seen the pictures.
I brought the right gun case then.
Excellent. Right. All right. Back in a tick. Actually. Yeah. Right.